So, today we are going to talk about my favorite practice area, and that is family law. Now, family law is close to my heart because I also went through a very messy divorce and lost a custody battle. And honestly, I entirely blame my attorney. But apart from that, when I started working, and this is one of the reasons why I started working with law firms, because I wanted a client never to experience what I experienced in the first place, right? But when it comes to family law, they are huge, huge issues, right? Specifically when it comes to the lead quality. And that's what we're going to discuss today, right? So, first of all, obviously, whenever somebody's in stress, so they are highly emotional, but most of time people do not have the ability to pay. They can't afford your services, but they want help, right? So the problem is obviously if the firm doesn't get paid, the firm cannot pay its employees. So you can't always do low value work, right? Number two, there is a massive, massive surge of window shoppers and ghosting rates in family law, right? So most of the time, let's say there's a problem at my house and I've had a fight with my wife, and probably I'm going through the divorce. So late at night, I would book a consultation. And most of the firms I see, they offer free consultations for 20, 30 minutes. And when I do, in the morning, I change my mind and now I won't answer any of your calls. So that's one of the huge issues, wastes a lot of time, right? Now, then you have a lot of misaligned expectations, timings, and outcomes. So, usually people want immediate, you know, custody order, they want immediate revenge, 100% asset split in their favor. But obviously, this becomes a very, very toxic relationship as it goes on. And then there is a lot of poor quality leads coming in. And then when you verify, people write wrong emails. Sometimes they are spam. Sometimes the phone numbers are wrong. And you get a lot of budget wasted on clicks, specifically if you are running very, very expensive Google ads. Then no shows. Oh my goodness. I have felt this, right? Although I run a data intake cleaning company. But the thing is that I also hate no shows. And that is one of the things that drives me crazy because I expect somebody to be there. And when I, take out my time, I sit down and I wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I see the person is not coming. I hate it. It's the worst. But this happens, right? Now, part of this is a little bit of the sales intake process thing, but obviously we're going to talk about that in another video. But today we are going to talk about how and what you can do to at least get your lead quality better. So right now in Florida, where I happen to work, that's why I like giving you the same example. If you are targeting Orlando area, that's where your law firm is. And it's a real bad news if you have multi-location law firm. But for just Orlando, right now, the click that Google is selling is about $40, right? So it means that in order to get 100 clicks on your website through Google Ads, you got to spend $4,000. And that's a lot of money, right? Now, it's nowhere near personal injury. That's gone insane, honestly, but still, it's a lot of money because when it comes to personal injury versus family, you have a higher lead quality in personal injury because people are in stress and they really want to book an attorney quickly, right? But in family law, they want to book a consultation and then sometimes they don't show up. Sometimes they have, contacted multiple firms at the same time. So they are just, window shopping there. And sometimes they're like, weighing which one is cheaper, which one is better, and other stuff, right? So it's more difficult to convert a client into a customer or convert a lead into a customer. That would be a better word to use here for a family law. So typically we see a 3 to 6% of website visitor to a converted lead ratio. 3 to 6 people out of 100 clicks would be more likely to convert. And it really depends on your landing page, it depends on the website load speed, it also depends on the messaging. But that too, we're going to talk about in another video. Now, imagine a world, right, where you could just tag people and somehow, you could only target people and fizzle out all those, you know, low quality, tire kicking leads, right? And just show your ads to great people who want to buy, right? In that world, you'd be so happy, right? And that is possible, my friends. That is possible if you understand closed loop attribution, right? So, what is closed loop attribution? I'm going to explain this in this video. So, inherently, Google Ads account gives you an option to enable matching, which means that you have a Google Click ID attached to every single visitor clicking on your Google ad. Google Click ID is a string of numbers and letters. It does nothing if you don't use it, right? So it's embedded in the link, and now you need to take that information out. So there are a couple of ways you can do it. You can save that particular ID in your local storage, local session storage, which is basically a sort of a memory where you keep that information. And when that person kind of browses through different pages, you don't lose that information. You can use hidden fields, or there are JavaScript mechanisms which you can use and send that information when they fill a form or call you through CallRail or your form setup to your CRM, whether it's Clio Grow, it's HubSpot, it's Go High Level, whatever you're using, right? Doesn't matter. Now, once that information is saved with the lead's other information, which is typical like name, email, and phone number. So what you do is you start qualifying them. Now there are certain, this is a complete sales process. We're going to talk about how you qualify, what questions to ask, how to train your paralegals, and I have a lot of good people who are expert in sales who understand. I could totally refer you to them. Now, when that person is qualified, you basically move them from a new lead to a qualified lead. Now, this is a good signal, and this signal needs to be sent back to Google. That's very important because Google is blind when it comes to offline conversions because this is happening after they basically fill the form. Now, if your Google ad account is set to optimize for form fills, it doesn't care who fills the form, right? It doesn't care if it's a person who can pay your retainer. It doesn't care if this person shows or no shows. It doesn't care if this person is toxic, right? But in reality, for a family law firm, it is very important that you qualify them afterwards. And that typically happens. I don't need to tell you this. But that qualification signal should be sent back to your Google ad account, right? Now, what you do is you can use either Zapier, you can use make.com, or get a API from Google Ad account connected to your CRM. So you can, whenever, something happens like this, you move a lead from a new lead to a qualified lead, it sends the signal back to Google. So Google starts learning, right? Google now knows that the 10 people I sent to them, half of them are great fit and half of them are really, really bad. I don't want to send them again, right? In fact, as you move through different qualification stages, like for example, it's a marketing qualified lead and then sales qualified lead and then the lead who purchased your service, that means that every single would carry more weight. So once the person purchases your services, buys your services, you send that signal back to Google, and now Google start optimizing and finding people, showing ads to people who are more likely to purchase, right? Rather than just asking Google to think of its own, which doesn't really happen, honestly. So, behind this, the algorithms, there is a lot of AI now, and AI can only follow instructions when they're super good, which means that if you are not sending them the right signal, AI is going to throw your ad to everybody, right? And everybody means every wrong or right person, right? So you don't want that. So it's a very simple process. All you need to do is get your ad account, load the leads through your website, use a call reel setup, and you also use your forms for whatever they fill. You send that information back to your CRM. As you qualify, each stage signal needs to be sent back to Google because now your Google ad account should be connected to your CRM as well. Once you do that, you get the signal and you close the loop. And that is what closed loop attribution means for a family law firm. Now, that means the world which we imagined initially, a world where there are no tire kickers, a world where I get all paid consultations, a world where those paid consultations convert 90% of the time into paying customers. That world can be achieved if you're just a little bit proactive, not like your customers who are probably very reactive. So, if you like this video, share, subscribe, and let me know any other topics you'd like me to cover. Have a nice